Welcome to Drive for Service, a podcast to inspire a higher quality of service. Hello, and welcome to our next episode of Drive for Service podcast. I'm Amy Morant, and I'm here with my good friend, David O'Connor, and co-owner of Medlar Restaurant
Hello,
in Chelsea.
Everyone.
David and I have worked for many years in restaurants, and we've always tried to strive for an outstanding level of service. We're here today to discover from the industry's best how they deliver a level of service that isn't just good, but goes above and beyond. David, would you like to introduce our guest, please?
Of course. Welcome, Jupiter Humphrey-Bishop. Works for the Royal Household and was the winner of the Gold Service Scholarship 2023. Welcome, Jupiter.
Thank you so much, David. It's such an honour to be here. And,
Great to have you, yes.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for taking the time.
If we can just start off with career story. How did you start in this industry?
Absolutely. So I've actually been in the hospitality industry for about 8 years now. And it all started back when I was 15, when I was working. Well, I was at school actually, and we were given an opportunity for work experience. And I had this opportunity and I thought to myself, where should I choose? And I chose the Grand Hotel in Eastbourne. And there was kind of two reasons why I chose there. Well, firstly, I really wanted to push myself. It was an opportunity for work experience to be able to, to learn as much as I could. And secondly, it was a place where I really felt the experience was exceptional. I used to always go there with my parents for special occasions. And I thought, it would be so lovely to do some work experience there. And that was fantastic. And then I kind of realised almost from day one that I absolutely fell in love with the industry. That being able to help the guests experience something and be able to make a difference to their day, to really change their day and really uplift them. I found it so inspiring.
When you did that work experience, was it front of house or was it in the kitchen, or did you do a bit of everything when you did the work experience?
It was actually a bit of both. A bit of both, actually. So I had a day in each different department. And I loved it so much that actually a few years later, I got my job there. So,
okay.
Amazing. So I went on to college and I studied hospitality and catering. Now, although it was front of house and back of house, I could tell from an early age on that front of house was, something I was really passionate about. And the design and the detail and the planning and the guest experiences. That's what I really, really felt drawn to. And we had lots of different opportunities while we were at college. And I had this opportunity to work in a small team of about 2 or 3. And we would almost take over the college restaurant for a day or so. And we had to order in all the ingredients and we had to plan the restaurant and design it and lots of cooking and all different things and send out the invitations. And, it was fantastic. It was kind of having that experience at such a young age was incredible to be able to learn those skills and really work as a team.
And be in charge of doing something that, that's completely yours, I assume, and then delivering that service to your peers as well and getting that feedback, I'm sure was very rewarding, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That kind of love and passion for hospitality continued to grow. And I somehow ended up going to a 1-week business course. And although it was separate to the college, it's just something I did. And I was so inspired by the end of it that, about a week later or so, I got all the licensing and I got all the correct things, and I turned my parents' house into turned my parents' living room almost upside down into a restaurant.
Great parents.
I know.
They must have loved that though, right?
They did.
Did they get to go?
They did. It was quite unbelievable. I think I cooked it was a 5-course meal and I only invited about 10 people over, but what an experience.
Yeah. For them. That's why,
Absolutely.
Sure, they had a great meal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for my parents for all the washing up. I do apologise. It was amazing. And I think early on, almost, kind of at the end of that day, I realised I'd spent so much time planning kind of the decoration and how things will look and how the experience will feel, down from the music in the background to taking their coats and creating food that I realised I was creating food that almost tried to make it look presentable rather than I was thinking, more about than the taste. So I think from an early on, I realised, it was all the kind of front of house side that I really did love.
Although I did strong presentation skills. Yeah.
Although I did train as a chef,
Yeah.
I realised, it was front of house was kind of for me. I later entered the Young Chef of Eastbourne competition, and that was quite interesting. I was only quite young at the time, and I somehow ended up winning this little competition, and it was only a few of us. But at that young age, you feel quite a lot of pressure. And
how old were you when you did that?
Actually, thinking back to it, I think I must have been 15. Actually, no, it must have been just before college.
Yeah,
so
quite early on. Yeah.
Quite early on. And I think I was terrified.
Yeah, I was about to say the pressure probably was quite.
It was quite terrifying, but I've always loved to push myself. I love to, try and learn new things, and just push myself out of my comfort zone. I think it's a really kind of inspirational thing to do, is just push yourself. And although it's terrifying, just you never know what will happen, and maybe.
Sounds like your parents supported that as well in terms of letting you turn their living room, and I'm sure they probably helped you, drive you forward to say you could do it.
Absolutely, and I think working in the hospitality industry, you get to meet lots of different people, and one thing I learned quite early on was the industry was so inspiring, so willing to have, older generations were willing to share their knowledge and share what they'd already learned in order to make younger generations, and help them with their careers. And I found that so inspiring that I think, one day I would love to be like that, and be able to share that knowledge on, because I think, it's our responsibility in the hospitality industry to be that role model. And So looking back on my career, I think it was definitely the passion for that front of house side, and just going back to the Young Chef competition. I remember when I presented my dish on the table, and the judges were all lined up, and I put it down, and then I took a step back. And then I looked at it, and then I twisted the plate, and I took a step back, and then I twisted the cutlery a little bit, and then I was like, okay, now it's done.
Do you remember what you served?
I do actually. So I think we had to do a 2 or 3 course dinner, and I made fresh pastry, which was quite risky. Because with pastry it can either go really well or it can go really bad. So
but when it goes really well, it's the thing of beauty, isn't it?
Yes. So so I did a little fresh pastry tart, and I think it was vegetarian, with some fresh salads and chocolate brownies and just different things. I was only young, but even then, just for presenting with the cutlery and everything, it was I could see that was the side that I really kind of fell in love with. Yeah.
So what came after that?
Well, so I then kind of went on to work at the Grand Hotel. Mm-hmm. So I was working in the cocktail bar there, and I really enjoyed it. And
so you know a lot about cocktails.
Just a little bit.
You're mine kind of person already. Love a cocktail, yeah.
But even working at the Grand Hotel in Eastbourne, sometimes the guests are coming to the cocktail bar for even half an hour, and maybe they're just having one small little drink. So it's kind of down to you to really think, how can I make that experience only half an hour long and one tiny little drink? They might not even have a second one. How can I make that a memory that they're going to remember?
Yeah.
How can that one tiny drink be an experience that they're going to think, gosh, yes, years ago I went there once and I had a martini or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That line of thinking, was it the hotel? Was it the hotel's philosophy? Is that something within you, or?
Well, I mean, I think I chose the Grand Hotel because it was a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
And, you know, it really does look for how to like go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that I was just really passionate about from quite early on, you know, thinking about guest experiences. And, you know, and that's kind of led on to quite a few things that I do nowadays. I'm still thinking about the guest experience and, you know, it'll take me on to guest kind of regulars and preferences, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in a moment. So after working at the Grand Hotel, the COVID-19 pandemic happened, and unfortunately, I was kind of let go at that time. And although I could have stayed at home, I took it as an opportunity to send my CV out to as many places as I could. Really kind of push myself to keep moving forwards, because although in our careers, you know, some things may happen and there may be hiccups and things may get in the way, you know, I think it's down to us to really keep taking that step forward and keep, you know, pushing ourselves. And although it might be really scary, you know, to make that next step, having that self-belief, I think is very important. So I sent out my CV, and I think within 48 hours or so, I'd packed my bags, I said goodbye to my parents, and I drove all the way to Hampshire and left my parents home, and I worked at Tilney Hall Hotel. So that's part of the same company, one of the sister hotels, and I was working there for about a year or so, and studying event management on the side as well. During my time at Tilney Hall, we had the opportunity to kind of look at events from a different perspective. And I had a couple of opportunities where I was independently put in charge of looking after an event. And I found that just so inspiring, having the opportunity to be able to think, okay, the guests are coming to us, but how can I make that a memory where they feel welcomed, they feel at home from the minute they walk through the door? You know, it's, you know, it was fantastic. So I kind of went into the event planning, studying.
Were these quite small events, or did they do a varied amount of events? I assume
they did
larger,
actually.
yeah.
They did quite a
variety. A business, or was it more kind of weddings, special occasion? What kind of the events were that you handled?
I think there was quite a variety.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, and each individual event is so unique in its own way. Having the kind of being able to tailor the event to the guest, you know, to what they're expecting. And I think that's so special. I think, you know, so many people in the industry who I look up to and who are so inspiring, you know, they've got this incredible skill of being able to just adapt the hospitality to fit that scenario. So there were lots of different types of events, but I think my preference was kind of more smaller, intimate events, where you really have that connection with the guests.
Yeah, because you must, as well, for the event planning, you must have that connection with them as well, leading up to the event, which is also, you know, where you can really shine, giving that, you know, tailored advice, to them.
Yeah,
I think it's difficult, especially with events, to remember that, you know, sometimes these they, you know, it doesn't happen often in the guest's life that they would have this particular event, but you're doing them every day. So to, you know, to really deliver that service to them is really a huge impact on them.
Yeah.
So,
amazing.
How did you find the pressure of doing that?
I actually really enjoyed it. You know, I think when you kind of take that step out of your comfort zone and you push yourself, and you almost need to become comfortable being uncomfortable, pushing yourself. But yeah, the pressure, you learn things and kind of see things from a different view and different perspective. So, but working as a team, I think was, really really valuable and really important and crucial as well. Because sometimes, these events, there may be only one or two of you. Later, when I was working at Clifton House, my next job, I used to come in on my days off sometimes and, just to help out at this, they had an underground cellar dining room and it was only hold about 16 people. And, it was incredible. I loved it so much, that kind of intimate service and being able to make incredible memories. And sometimes it was just me and a sommelier, or me and maybe one other person and a sommelier. And, it's up to us to kind of work together and really support each other because, without the sommelier or without that one helper, it wouldn't be as smooth, the service. So kind of definitely, helping each other is really important for that. So I went on to work at Clifton House for a year as head waiter. So that was quite a step up because I was only 21 and I'd not taken a position of a head waiter before.
So you'd gone from events, doing small events, and then you'd gone into doing the head waiter and that sort of thing.
Yes. So, and that was great, to kind of manage a team and learn, how to deal with things, how to communicate better, how to delegate better. And I think it's really important that we kind of acknowledge all the hard work that everyone does and kind of really bring them together. I was only a head waiter for about a year or so, but I really enjoyed it. And often we would do these things called exclusive hire outs, and people would come along and hire out the entire hotel. And I think that's what I really loved as well, being able to tailor the entire hotel to one kind of event or one guest and have that all connected together. And there's so much depth to the hospitality industry and making that experience from perhaps 2D to 3D. And that's what I really love. So I think that was kind of the first time that I saw these exclusive hires was when I was at Clifton.
And did you have some different mentorship as well when you went to Clifton? Because you stayed there for a year, but you learned. It sounds like you learned quite a lot of different things. So was there a strong team at that time that helped you learn these things?
Absolutely, yes.
They've been there a long time, have they?
Anywhere you work in hospitality, it's down to you to kind of bring the team together. Yeah. And because all different things happen, and there will always be pressures of, trying to get more covers in and upsell, and service can get faster and faster because you're trying to get more people in and all these different things. But just taking almost a step back and just thinking, okay, so this is what we're going to do. And then really thinking, well, how are we going to do that? And then how can we make that even better? How can we make that just beyond service? How can we make that kind of almost using emotional intelligence as well? Thinking to kind of understand the guest. I mean, they don't even need to say anything, but you should just be able to learn to just take one look and then understand, oh, right, okay, I should approach or I shouldn't approach. This is how I should communicate. And kind of it just follows on from that. Yeah.
So after Clifton House, what happened after that? What was the next step for you?
Well, I then went on to work at the Royal Household.
Okay, that's the next step. Yeah,
yes.
Lovely.
So I've been there for about 2 years now, and which is great, and I'm really enjoying it. And we do lots of different events.
What made you apply for that role? What drew you to doing? Because that's quite different again, isn't it? From doing what you were doing.
Absolutely. So I actually applied back in 2018, but with all the kind of COVID-19 regulations and everything, unfortunately my application had to be put on hold. So again, different things have come up in my career, and I've just tried to kind of like really look positively and just have that self-belief. And and then I applied again, and that was when there was no COVID.
Yeah.
and then I got the job there. So having that self-belief just to really believe in yourself and keep moving forward, I think.
What is your role there, Jupiter?
So I'm a footman actually, and so we just do all different events. So they can be on a small scale and they can be on a really large scale as well. So that could be from a state visit to a garden party with 8,000 people, or even just a small tea tray for two. So they can be quite
really
a
varied.
big variety.
Wow.
Yes. There we go.
And so do you just work at one residence, or do you travel around the country?
I do actually. I do quite a bit of travelling. So I'm based in London, but for work I travel around the UK quite a bit to different residences. But I really, really enjoy it.
And is the team very large? What do you work with?
Yes, I think it's, we all kind of really work together. And like myself, I travel to different residences depending on different situations. So, kind of like any hotel, really, you have different departments, but you all come together to deliver certain events. So, fantastic.
So, is it very detailed, the service?
I think everywhere in hotels and hospitality and restaurants, every part of hospitality, detail is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly important. I think detail is something that once you learn, you can't really unlearn it. You might then go home at the end of the day after work and be plumping the cushions, and I do. I'm guilty of going home and just really tidying things, but I think detail is incredibly important anywhere in hospitality.
And I assume that you're obviously you're organising very large events, very small events, and without going into too much detail, I assume that also sometimes there are things that you've never done before, which you're sometimes asked for. It's not always the run of the mill.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So you have to think on your feet, I assume.
Absolutely. It's I think every day in hospitality is very varied, and I think that's why I really enjoy it. I think, I really enjoy hospitality because every day is different and you learn so much. And I think if you're not learning, then you're not pushing yourself, or there's a different way of kind of going about different things. But yes, lots of different learning. It's been quite a steep learning curve the last few years, and I've really enjoyed it.
So Jupiter, moving on to the importance of service for you.
Well, I think service is incredibly important, and it can be very elegant sometimes. And I think that's what I love about hospitality, is this kind of elegance. It's this almost, if you think of a conductor of music and you've got all these individual people and they're playing all these individual pieces of instruments and different things, but it's the conductor that kind of brings it all together and it creates this beautiful piece. And I kind of think of service, or the restaurant manager creating the service, as like a conductor almost. They bring everything together. It's bringing the elements of the food from the kitchen, the wine from history, from the sommelier, the service, the everything. It all comes together, and I think the service is what makes it become 2D into 3D. And I think it's being able to kind of go beyond that experience. Yeah. And
you touched upon reading people and being able to read them, and that is obviously very something that's important to you and your philosophy. So what are your thoughts on regulars and customer relation? How do you build that? I know you must be serving the same people regularly, but I'm sure there's other people who you've not served before. So how do you build that impression to them and give them that service?
Well, I think most businesses in hospitality, their goal is to make all guests become regular guests.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the main goal. And I think once they become regular guests, you almost have like an advantage from the business's side that you then know your guests better. So then you can tailor your experience to fit them better. If, for example, I go to David's restaurant, and he knows that I like pasta and champagne, for example, he can be, oh, Jupiter, yes, we've got this amazing pasta dish. And he can already be thinking about it before I've even arrived, half an hour later. So it's being able to kind of tailor that before they arrive, I would say, not when they've arrived, but before they arrive, even from the telephone booking, it's that service that they've provided. The social media, is that kind of attractive social media, has that kind of made them excited to go to your restaurant? So I think regulars are really important, and they make up a huge percentage of our service. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in terms of building those relationships, you think about emotional intelligence is key. You mentioned earlier.
I think emotional intelligence is crucial.
Do you feel like you had a little bit of that before? Do you feel like you've learnt that from the career that you've had so far?
I think a bit of both, actually. Emotional intelligence is being able to understand the guest before anything's been said, to be able to look at a scenario and think, okay, well, those two people, maybe perhaps they're in the middle of a kind of a serious conversation. I'm not going to, run up to them and say, oh, how was your day? When they've clearly not had a good day, or, it's being able to be adaptable, being able to understand them. And there's a lot of depth in the kind of emotional intelligence side. And I think that also relates to how we treat our staff as well.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I think they're both linked. I mean, it leads on to the next point about building and motivating teams, which is obviously key as well.
Absolutely.
So we'd like to hear your thoughts on that, please, Jupiter.
I recently read a really good book, and a very good book actually, and it talks about employee well-being and the kind of the depth to employee well-being, and how just putting in place different things can almost completely change how you build your team, how you motivate your team, and how you get them really excited to be part of the business. And one of those things I would say is definitely including them in the vision of where the business is going. If they can understand, or you can show them that they can understand that their role, whatever it could be, I mean, it could be a kitchen porter through to a receptionist, their role is part of the bigger picture. Then you can almost help them kind of understand and acknowledge that their work, acknowledge that their work is seen and their hard work is put in, and they're part of the business moving forward. So I think, it's really important that we kind of appreciate our staff, and we show them that, their work is really appreciated.
Yeah, certainly. Like when I'm in a lovely restaurant and you've got the commis waiter comes out with the tray, and it's all part of the detail, isn't it? It's part of the theatre, isn't it? Certainly it was, we enjoy that, don't we, as people? Well, certainly I do. When I sit in a restaurant, I'm always looking at the details. So yeah, I can understand that. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think restaurants are only as good as, or any business is only as good as their team, really. And you need to put a lot of emphasis on making sure you have the best team possible.
Yes.
If you want to deliver the best product, whether it's in the kitchen or the front of house, to be fair.
Yes. I think it's really important that when working as a team and when building a team, that you have people with, understanding that they've got that passion, help them understand their own passions. That might be kind of in the wine side or the service side, or whatever side that is, what element that is, help them understand their passion. And then you've got all this more kind of character coming through, and their passion. The guests can feel your kind of energy almost, and it kind of goes back to emotional intelligence. How if the guest is, if you're serving the guest and you're not having a very good day and you're a bit grumpy, the guest can really can feel that.
Yeah, they have emotional intelligence
Absolutely.
too.
So it works the other way around.
Yeah, and you don't know if they're in service either.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that's it's very hard, isn't it? Especially with the hours that everybody does in hospitality. It's very hard as well to always keep the smile going, especially if the service isn't quite going to plan.
Very true. Very true. It's kind of, if you think about, I always come up with these scenarios in my head, but if you think about a swan, just slightly kind of gracefully gliding down the river, and that's kind of the service, but underneath the water its feet are going paddling away like
furiously,
like crazy. Yeah. So it's kind of a bit like service, where we're underneath we're right, I've got to get to this table, I've got to do this, and have a long list of things to do in your head, but it's being able to put them in the right order and then just calmly presenting that service.
To make it feel like it's seamless to the customer, when actually there's quite a lot going on underneath to make it seem seamless.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, you touched on a bit about the wine earlier. So your thoughts on the role of the sommelier in wine service?
I kind of think of the sommelier as the chef of the wine, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you have a traditional chef that'll be in the kitchen in charge of the food. Well, for me, the sommelier is kind of the chef of the wine. And how the chef would think about kind of the different elements of the food and how it pairs nicely. Well, the sommelier also kind of has that role. They have to have that knowledge and understanding of the wine. It's being able to almost sell history. You're drinking history. It's incredible. And there's so much hard work has gone into creating that beautiful bottle of wine. And, the weather and the soil and the people picking the grapes. I mean, everything comes together. And then it has to sit and rest for however many years. And it's like almost such a beautiful thing. So I think the sommelier's role is really key. I think without a sommelier, you wouldn't kind of enjoy the wine as much. Imagine you're going to a special restaurant and it's a really special occasion. You're with your friends and you want to kind of really have a wonderful evening, and you look at the wine list and it might just look like a load of numbers on a piece of paper. And, the sommelier is there to kind of really help you understand the wine, help you understand the history and how it's going to pair with your food. So I think it's a very, very crucial role.
I like that idea with the history and connecting it back to the vineyard where it's hailed from. Yeah, I've never thought of it like that. But yeah, certainly like when I've had a wonderful experience, like I'm not someone who knows a lot about wine, but certainly the sommelier for me anyway, when they describe a wine that I've not tasted before as buttery or something like, you can really connect that, especially if you're pairing it with food, which that really goes with that wine beautifully. It's very expressive and it's not something that, I can normally connect to, but I like the fact that the sommelier can help you
absolutely
connect to that side.
Yeah. I mean, on our team at Medlar, the sommelier is always probably the most important player on the team, really. That is the way I set the team up anyway. But it's a bit like a football team where it's a star striker,
absolutely.
I think. And when you have a good team behind them, they can score all the goals, which is they can shine and enhance the experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I like the theatre of it as well.
Yeah.
The opening and the decanting.
Yes, it really is. It's so elegant, and it's a wonderful thing to have somebody present the wine and to talk about it, and you learn not just how the wine will taste, but you really learn kind of the whole picture. How it was kind of made. You learn about the producer. yes, the sommelier has a lot of studying to do, and there's kind of a lot to do before you can actually touch on the wine as such. But yes, I think it's an incredible role. Yeah, very, very crucial to the restaurant.
So we've obviously touched on the wine service and your philosophy and stuff, but what are the 3 non-negotiable things that if we worked for you, what is the most crucial 3 non-negotiables in your mind?
That's a very good question. Gosh. So firstly, I would have to say positivity and being kind of open-minded. I think that's so crucial to have that positivity. Often in hospitality, we're doing quite a long day, lots of hours, and it can be very busy. But you've got to have that positivity, and I think positivity is contagious. I think when someone's in a really good mood,
negativity as well.
When someone's in a really good mood, it uplifts other people, and I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah,
and to kind of be open-minded and have that positive mindset, I think is it's really crucial. Number 2, I would have to say attention to detail. Of course. I mean, this is oh wow. I mean, what is the bigger picture when there is no detail? It's the details make up the bigger picture. I mean, that could be anything. That could be even you're staying in a hotel and you're a regular, and they may have embroidered kind of your initials onto the corner of the pillow, or they may have, they know David likes coffee, so they may have prepared some coffee before you've arrived into your hotel room, or whatever it is. So it's just having that attention to detail, and I think I think it's such an important one. And number 3, I would say passion for self-improvement. I think
that's a good one. That's a good one, isn't it?
Yes, I love
that. Having a growth mindset.
I think people should
growth mindset.
I often say to my team, you should work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That might sound a bit strange, but I think it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you talked a lot about going outside, your comfort zone and pushing yourself to learn more. And that really is what's got you so far, isn't it? And even, winning the gold award as well. That's attention to detail, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually. So
I'd love to touch upon that.
Jupiter is the winner of the Gold Service Scholarship 2023. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
So tell us about it.
Actually, during my current role, in my time there, my manager said to me, okay, Jupiter, there's this competition. It's called the Gold Service Scholarship, and we think you should think about it. I was thinking, gosh, I don't know if I don't know.
Did you know much about the competition at that point, or was it just completely?
I did. I was completely new to it, and I thought, okay, let's give it a go and just enjoy the process.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how kind of far we get. Let's just enjoy the process and hopefully learn something new along the way.
Yeah.
So yes, and then so I applied, and then I received an email saying I was through to the quarterfinals, and I thought, oh gosh, wow, okay.
And how many people do start off the quarterfinals? How many of you are there?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
Lots and lots, basically, at that point.
So yes, but it was lovely because it was the first time I had almost been in a room where there was loads of people my age, and we all had exactly the same passion for hospitality in a slightly different way to some other people. Some people go into hospitality as just a part-time thing or just something on the side when their other career is maybe something else. Well, we all all had that passion and really, really just loved hospitality, loved making other people happy, loved kind of going above and beyond and all of this. So it's lovely to meet so many wonderful people. Was there an array of
different people, what they were doing at that point? Or was it all just restaurants and hotels and that sort of thing where I assume they had a quite varied background? Was there any that surprised you? Yes. As backgrounds went?
Actually, there was a few people kind of in private members clubs.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And working for all different kind of companies. So it was really interesting to learn that hospitality, there's so much more beyond
I can imagine.
Hotels and restaurants.
Yeah.
So I think we had about 3 different tasks we had to do in the quarterfinals, and I really enjoyed it.
Just run through quickly the tasks.
So there was an interviewing process.
Yeah.
There was also a table setting scenario. So you have to lay a table. You've got lots of people around you marking you and judging you, and there's a big camera, so it's a bit intimidating. And then we also had, I think there was a group activity as well. And a few weeks later, I heard nothing for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, I got an email saying I was through to the semi-finals.
Wow.
That was quite a surprise.
I didn't realise that it would be that far apart either. I thought it'd be all over the same kind of few days that you would do the whole competition.
No. I think it was even 6 months, the whole process from applying to winning. And the semi-finals, that really was a step up. That was quite a big step up.
Yeah.
We had 5 tasks, and they included cocktail making. So we had to make 1 or 2 cocktails. Yeah. We were timed, and we had a big camera on me again, and people kind of standing around marking and judging, and then looking for detail. And they were all every
in
single
your wheelhouse,
thing, everything. They were looking for detail.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then I moved on to a wine decanting task. And I think the most trickiest thing throughout the day is you don't know what order you're going to do your tasks. So you just get picked, and then you have to go into the room and do that.
So no one's watching you apart from the judges. Mm-hmm. It's not, you're not on a stage or anything for the semi-finals.
No. So. Not on a stage.
There's a lot of judges.
I know, but there's a lot of people watching, right? Okay.
So that was really interesting, wine decanting.
Yeah.
And they're looking really for that technique to make sure, everything is just really seamless. And then also a presentation task as well. So we had to create a 3-course menu and do a wine pairing as well for that, and present that to a big table of judges. And they're looking, how have you paired them together? How have you presented that? Have you thought about all the different things? And you're given kind of a scenario, for example, maybe somebody's gluten-free or dairy-free. So you need to think about all these different things.
Wow.
And lots of different things to think about.
Wow.
And then there was also a couple of other tasks, including a group task where we all had to work together to think about prioritizing tasks in a restaurant service. And that was a very interesting one, because not only do you need to think what's important to you, but it's really important that you kind of listen to everyone else as well. Because everyone's got really good ideas, but you don't want to kind of not say too much or speak over people. So it's there's that as well. But yeah,
teamworking aspect.
Teamworking,
to see,
absolutely.
Not only the prioritization of the task.
Absolutely.
But, okay. Wow.
And then
how long did you have to wait until you found out?
Felt like a very long time. Very, very long time. So I was actually on a plane, and I was flying over to Amalfi Coast, flying over to Italy, and obviously there's no signal. And then as soon as we landed, we touched the ground in Italy, and then the Wi-Fi came back on again, and my email came through, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm through to the finals. What is it like? Have they sent it to the wrong person? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Because I assume you get no feedback at all on the day of the semi-finals.
No,
You're like,
no.
I don't know if I did, and you don't know how, because you can't watch the other semi-finalists, you don't know
exactly
how they've done.
So I was just in the unknown.
Wow.
And I think the other people on the plane were like, what's going on? Because I was quite like, oh wow. But it was incredible to be able to, plan for that. And we also, before the finals, we had a learning development day, which was another day. So we go along and we learn all about what's going to happen on the finals.
Good. They do prep you a little bit then. That's nice.
They did a little bit, which was great. And we learned about the menu and what's going to happen. And I think that was, again, another opportunity to kind of gauge the judging from their side as well. Yeah. And then the finals arrived, and what a day it was. It was really incredible. So we had to serve a table of 4, and we have to think about everything. So even before the guests are arriving, we have this mise en place kind of element. We have to set the table and make sure everything's right. And it was kind of down to us to have that idea of, how do I want to design the table? So they were looking at, you don't all have to do it the same way. You can have a little bit of kind of change it up a little bit. And then the guests arrived, and it really was kind of just down to you to think, okay, well, we do this, on a daily basis. We serve guests and we interact with guests. So let's just have this opportunity to make it exceptional. Which isn't so easy when they're all, top kind of industry.
Yeah, the 4 guests are the judges, right? Are they? Or?
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
So serving four judges on the table, and then there were also static judges stood around me, and then there were also moving judges who would move from different table to different table. So there was a lot of judges, and there was a lot of pressure.
And is everyone, all the finalists performing at the same time? They're all doing separate tables?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's hard to kind of not look at other people and think, oh, what are they doing? But you just really have to focus on yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And you really have to kind of not think about anyone else and just think, okay, I know what I'm doing. Let's just do it. And let's just do my best. And we'll see what happens. And, and different things do happen, but it's how do you respond to that? Everyone makes different mistakes, every day in hospitality. But how do we react to that? I think that's, really important to think about. And if there's something that we can't offer the guests, well, what can we offer the guests, and how can we change that around?
Did they throw you any curveballs like that?
There were a couple.
You didn't drop any bread rolls or anything?
Luckily not.
I assume. Since you won.
Luckily not. But there were a couple of things. But you just have to do it, and you just have to do your best and see what happens.
Sense of humour and positive attitude,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So we were serving like a 3-course meal, and then on the side of that as well, you have the wine side. So you're decanting the red wine, and you have to think about when you're going to decant it, and the service of that. So it's just to fit everything in together, because every day you have to think about the weight from the food, from the kitchen. You have to think about the service and all of it, and how it all comes together. And it's kind of you as the waiter, the manager, the server, to bring that together and just deliver the best that you can to the guest. They don't need to know about all the different things that are going on in the restaurant. So you kind of have to just not forget about it, but just kind of put that in the back of your mind. And when you're with the guest, really be with them. I think there's nothing worse than service when you're not kind of really there, you're not really engaging. So having that ability to be able to engage with them is very important.
And the guest can certainly, I think as a guest, I can certainly tell when, somebody's very stressed and possibly thinking about, the bashing, the clang and bashes that are going on in the kitchen or something, or, you can certainly tell, can't you, if they're not with you. But yeah.
Well, you won anyway.
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Sounds like a very, very difficult and high pressure competition, and well done.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
It was quite unbelievable. I really didn't expect to win. I thought I just went in there with the mindset, I'm just going to do my best and just see kind of what happens. And I don't know if you've seen the photo that's of me when I won, where my face is just like, just such a surprise. But lovely surprise there. So,
fantastic.
And that led on to 12 months or the last 12 months of the most incredible experiences that I'm so grateful for. It's just been life-changing, actually. Going over to Asia, working over there in the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Le Normandie by Chef Alan Roux, and the famous Bamboo Bar, and then over to Sicily and working in one of the Roccoforte hotels as well. That was incredible learning opportunity, especially from me with the event side as well. I love the kind of event side. So having the work experience, kind of planning the event and delivering the event as well, and working event sales as well. That was something quite interesting as well that I'd not done before.
Different again,
Also with the Gold Service Scholarship, being able to, have that connection with your team gold. So the top 8 winning finalists, you kind of become team gold, and then every year there's a different team gold. And some of the trips that I went on, all of team gold, we would go together, and it was beautiful because we all started out as competitors, but we really did end up becoming, such great friends, and had amazing connections. We're going over to Germany, to Moselle, to the vineyards together, and going to Laurent Perrier with one of my Team Gold members as well. So that was really nice.
Yeah, connecting up with like-minded people, probably. I can imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. Part of the Gold Service Scholarship, I was lucky enough to kind of get a membership with the Institute of Hospitality, and that's been really wonderful. And now I'm actually working on their youth council for the Institute of Hospitality. So I think it's really important to kind of anyone who's like listening to this, that if you're working in the industry and you've got that passion about it, to really take that step and be that role model. If we don't kind of take the step to be the role model, who will kind of inspire the next generations? I think we should all, show that passion and that love that we have for service, and kind of almost be ambassadors for the industry. And I really look up to so many of these people. So at the moment I'm working with the Youth Council, just to kind of be that voice for the industry. So
what does that involve exactly? You say Youth Council? So
the IOH Youth Council is very good. So we kind of work together to promote hospitality and inspire the younger generation. So people who are thinking, should I go into hospitality, or they're studying at the moment, and kind of really kind of get them involved and get them connected. So we host a lot of events where they have the opportunity to kind of network with these, MIH and FIH members. So, it's about giving them that opportunity and inspiring them and helping them with their knowledge. So we're going to do an event quite soon, actually. So it's like a speed networking event, and just giving them the opportunity to kind of understand hospitality a bit more and to promote it. And through that, I've written a couple of articles recently for the IOH magazine. One was on giving back. So, how it's so important that we give back in this industry, and the kind of beautiful ripple effect that then goes off into the industry. And that kind of passion for writing has only just started.
Are these available online as well? Can we share the links with share the links with our podcasters as well.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm kind of that good at writing yet, but it's something that I really enjoy and really passionate about. And it's kind of led me into this completely new thing that I've started. I've launched this hospitality blog, and it's called Discovering Hospitality. And basically, it reviews luxury hospitality locations at the moment globally on their guest experiences. So it's quite an exciting project that I've just started, and how I'm going to different places and experiencing their version of guest experience and their version of what great service is. And then just writing positive, really nice, positive, uplifting reviews just to promote them, to promote the industry as a whole. So
it sounds really interesting. I mean, for you writing and for us, going to be reading it
absolutely.
As well. Yeah.
So hopefully you can just inspire some people along the way.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah. Sounds really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. Quick fire round.
Yes.
few quick fire questions. We're just going to do a few quick fire questions. One word, quick answers, whatever. But best service you've ever received?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I can say just one. I mean, there's been quite a few experiences where I've been, wow, this is amazing. One that I have is very memorable. Going to the Ritz Hotel. This was for the first ever time, and sitting in the cocktail bar and having a martini for the first ever time, sitting there with one of my friends, and I just thought, this is amazing.
Yeah, very classical service.
Yes,
it's beautiful.
My first time at the Ritz Hotel, and it's just so lovely to be there. It's a very memorable experience.
Nice. Who inspires you the most in this industry?
I don't know if you can say just one person.
It's really hard, isn't it? It's
really hard. It really is hard.
A few names then.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this answer might surprise you a bit, but I'd actually have to say, I don't think just one person can be inspirational. I think when you work as a team, that's when the kind of inspiration comes through, because I think people get to where they want to be with that kind of teamwork and those connections. And it's that supporting each other that helps people kind of move forward in their careers. So I think
it's a moment in time, isn't it? When you have that team that you work wonderfully with.
So I would have to say, my team definitely inspire me, but all teams, that they've helped, these legends become incredible legends in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
So I really don't know if I can pick just one. I'm sorry. So there we go.
So nice. A favourite book to do with the industry?
Oh, that's a good one. There's quite a few. I'm actually reading a new book at the moment. I'm halfway through it, called Diary of a CEO. And it's how, working kind of on yourself and how you have these different buckets almost. And you can learn your skills and how your knowledge and connections and all works, and how it kind of creates this foundation in order to help you kind of in your career. So it's quite inspiring.
Diary of a CEO. Lovely.
I have that myself. I haven't picked it up yet. I'm going to start it next week.
You can lend it to me afterwards.
I need to finish the book. I'm only halfway through, but it's very good so far.
Wine or cocktail?
Can I say champagne?
You can.
Yes.
Nice. We'll go for a glass after this.
Best plate of food? Or most memorable plate of food, maybe?
Cool. Is that at home or is that out?
Out.
Okay.
For this one.
Well, I love Italian food. I really love Italian food. So I'd have to say in Italy. I was in one place, and I really can't remember the name of it, this beautiful Italian restaurant, and it was newly open, and it was kind of on their open launch night. And I was there, and a very famous chef, and he was making the most delicious pizzas, and they were almost like clouds. They were so fluffy. And he was known for these golden scissors, and you would kind of cut the pizza with these golden scissors. Very strange, but it was very, very memorable experience.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fantastic.
There we go.
An easy meal at home?
Go to, yeah.
It's got to be Italian again. It's got to be, it has to be.
Must be pasta, no? You mentioned it before.
Yeah,
we
something
do love pasta.
spicy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something, lots of chili in it. Spicy kind of arrabbiata, something. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was
Anything you want to ask us?
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to ask us?
Amazing. So what was kind of your inspiration for setting up Medlar, or kind of working in Medlar, and how you've kind of moved that forward to where you are today?
Medlar, what inspired me? I was working for some very good people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I was managing a restaurant called Chez Bruce in Wandsworth.
Okay.
I loved working there. I liked the style of the restaurant. I always wanted to open my own restaurant one day. I thought about going back up north to do it. Was my original plan.
Okay.
But then I met the sous chef, Joe Mercenern, who's my business partner at Medlar.
Okay.
We're working together. He also wants to open a restaurant. So we thought, why not do it together? And we ended up doing it in London, King's Road in Chelsea.
Yeah.
And we started off similar business model to Chez Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And we evolved the restaurant. It's 13 years old now. We've evolved it over the years and into the institution it is today.
Fantastic. Amazing. Very inspiring.
Sounds
Well,
really
it's been
good.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
You've
very
been
much.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Drive for Service podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Medlar Chelsea and make sure that you like and subscribe for future episodes.